If you've played Tetris long enough, you know this feeling. Everything seems under control. Your stack is clean, you're setting up a perfect well. Then you misplace one piece. You think, I can fix this. But then another piece goes wrong. Then another. And what once felt under control quickly turns into stressful chaos. Without realizing it, you've crossed a line the game was inevitably moving you toward. And the diabolical part? This descent into madness is happening exactly as designed. On the surface, Tetris feels like a game about organization. Place the shapes, clear the lines, keep things clean. It feels like the better you play, the safer you should become. But that safety is an illusion. Because if Tetris were actually about organization, good play would make you feel in control. It never does. It only ever gives you temporary relief. No matter how well you play, the descent into chaos is inevitable. And the better you play, the faster that illusion disappears. Now, quick clarification. I'm talking specifically about classic marathon Tetris, NES and Game Boy era rules, the versions where speed increases as you clear lines. In these versions, Tetris doesn't have a real ending. There's no final boss, no end credits or thanks for playing screen that brings closure. Instead, it has escalation. Tetris doesn't ask you to win. It asks how long you can endure as the conditions steadily deteriorate. Every 10 lines, the pieces fall faster. Every success pushes you closer to the moment where success becomes the problem. This wasn't some philosophical choice about life or futility, it was a technical one. Early hardware had limits. Increasing speed was an easy way to raise difficulty. But accidentally, beautifully, it created something deeper. Once a game has no endpoint, the real opponent stops being the game itself and becomes your own limitations. So early in Tetris, you're allowed to believe you're solving something. You rotate pieces, you visualize placements, you think ahead. But as the speed increases, that disappears. At a certain point, the game stops testing your planning. You stop deciding and start reacting. Under pressure, the way we think changes. Planning gives way to instinct. Tetris is built around that shift. It slowly removes your ability to recover from mistakes. One slightly wrong decision doesn't hurt you immediately. It hurts you 3 pieces later, when the stack is high, the speed is unforgiving, and there's no room left to fix it. And once recovery disappears, the game stops asking how smart you are and starts asking something else entirely. This is where Tetris becomes unsettling. In classic marathon Tetris, skill doesn't stabilize the game, it accelerates it. The more lines you clear, the faster the pieces fall. The faster they fall, the smaller your margin for error becomes. Skill only buys time, and time is the one thing the game is constantly taking away. And the better you are, the longer the game has to tighten the screws. That's why even high-level play eventually collapses. Not because someone messed up, but because the system never stops escalating. And if that time pressure wasn't stressful enough, Tetris adds another way to heighten the chaos. Look at how classic Tetris keeps your score. A single line, barely worth anything. 2 lines, better. 3 lines, decent. The real reward comes from 4 lines, a Tetris. The game quietly teaches you that playing it safe isn't efficient. To score well, you're encouraged to build higher, to leave gaps, to delay clearing lines. The game trains you to live on the edge. This taps into a very human tendency. We accept increasing danger when reward grows disproportionately. You aren't stacking dangerously because you're reckless. You're doing it because the game dares you to. It doesn't just speed up, it trains you to create risk. And that's where the stress really comes from. You're not just under pressure, you're under pressure you helped create. And whether that risk pays off all hinges on one thing: the long bar, that eyepiece, which feels like salvation when it finally arrives. It's the most valuable piece in the game, and the one your entire strategy depends on. But in classic Tetris, it isn't guaranteed. There's no modern 7-bag system here, no promise that every shape will appear evenly. You can go long stretches without seeing one. So when you build a Tetris well, you're making a bet. A bet that the eyepiece will arrive in time. A bet that the speed won't outpace you. A bet that nothing else will go wrong first. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes the piece never comes. The longer you wait, the worse your position becomes. Your stack rises. Your options disappear. This is a classic tension mechanic. Unpredictable relief creates more stress than predictable danger. Tetris doesn't punish you randomly. It makes you wait. And sometimes that waiting turns your reward strategy into the very thing that ends your game. And this is where Tetris stops feeling like a game and starts to feel like something you've probably experienced before. I don't believe that familiarity is accidental. Tetris follows the same rules as many real-life systems you likely participate in every day. You're given limited time, incomplete information, and a margin for error that slowly shrinks. You don't solve systems like that. You manage them, the way you manage email, deadlines, or obligations, until you can't. You keep things manageable by pushing cleanup to later. You take on more because efficiency demands it. You assume you'll fix the mess when things slow down. But they don't. The system speeds up, the margin disappears, time runs out. And suddenly, recovery isn't an option anymore. Tetris isn't punishing your mistakes. It's recreating the moment when management turns into collapse, which raises a bigger question. If Tetris isn't measuring intelligence, what is it actually measuring? At this point, I think the answer is this. Tetris isn't so much about just reflexes or intelligence. It's actually testing composure under declining circumstances. How long can you maintain order when there's no pause, no reset, and no guarantee the solution will arrive in time? In that way, Tetris is a lot like Star Trek's Kobayashi Maru, a no-win scenario designed to see how you respond when success is no longer possible. That's why high-level Tetris is fascinating to watch. You're watching someone delay collapse far beyond what would seem possible. That's why winning at Tetris was never the point. It's about how long you can hold yourself together as everything around you falls apart. And that moment when everything falls apart, that's not failure. That's the experiment concluding. Because to me, Tetris was never a puzzle game. It's a pressure system. It doesn't ask if you can win. It asks how long you can keep playing once control starts slipping away. And the moment you realize that is the moment you finally understand what Tetris is all about. So that's just my take. I want to know what Tetris means to you. Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this content, well, you know what to do. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and happy gaming, my friends.